Konnichiwa minasan. O genki desu ka? Welcome to the intermediate course of my channel. Let's learn Japanese with Eric. In this lesson, we'll summarize the main takeaways of the conditional conjugations to, tara, ba, and nara that we studied in detail in lessons 62b to 62e. Yoroshi desu ka? This lesson summarizes the main takeaways of the 4 conditional conjugations used in the Japanese language: to, tara, ba, and nara. If you've already watched lessons 62b to 62e, this lesson neatly ties loose ends. But if you haven't or have just watched some of them, it would give you an overarching idea of the 4 conditionals. These conditionals introduce a conditional if or when subordinate clause for use in sentences such as, if I go to Japan, I'll visit the Tokyo Tower, or when you add 1 to 4, we get 5. There are rules governing the use of each conditional, but for the most part, they're almost always used in non-past tense sentences. Some of the rules you need to remember in using them actually center on when or how you can use them in the past tense. Just like all subordinate clauses in Japanese, when the subjects of the subordinate and main clauses are different, the subject of the subordinate clause takes the particle ga, while the subject in the main clause typically takes wa. The tense of the sentence depends on the tense of the verb in the main clause. The 4 conditionals can be used with verbs, adjectives, nouns, and pronouns. And each of these 4 conditionals also conjugate into the affirmative and negative for verbs, adjectives, nouns, and pronouns. Let's start with to. The to construction is the easiest to form, but it is also the least flexible because it has the most restrictions in its use. To form the to construction, simply add to the dictionary form of a verb and e adjective. For na adjectives, pronouns, and nouns, you add to the verb to be, da, to form dato. The negative conditional comes from the nai form of verbs, adjectives, pronouns, and nouns, and to them you add to form nai to. To is only used for math, logic, natural phenomena, logical consequences, and for very strong beliefs and opinions that the speaker thinks the sentence is gospel. To cannot be used to express volition or make requests, commands, suggestions, invitations, or similar sentences. Next is the tara conjugation. Tara is the most flexible and can be used in almost all cases. Tara is formed by taking the plain past form or ta form of a verb and e adjective, and to them we add ra to form tara. The negative conditional would be nakattara. For na adjectives, which are grammatically nouns, as well as real nouns and pronouns, we again take the verb to be, da, and use its past tenses, dattara and janakattara or dewanakattara. Tara has a lot of uses and very little restriction in its use. It can be used to express opinions and judgments, volitions, invitations, requests, commands, suggestions, and make counterfactual sentences. The main takeaway of the ba conjugation is that the information in the subordinate clause comes from the speaker. It's like saying, hey, how about if nantoka nantoka? However, this conjugation is the most complicated to form among the 4. For ru-dropping verbs, drop the ru ending of the dictionary form and add reba. For category 2 verbs, the last hiragana changes to the e series and you add ba. And for the irregular verbs, we have sureba, ikeba, kureba, areba, and deareba. And to form the negative, the nai of the nai form becomes nakereba. Ba is used for many things, and it's the second most flexible after the tara construction. In fact, there's a lot of overlap in the functions between the two. Ba can be used for making judgments and opinions, expressing volitions, requests, commands, suggestions and advice, as well as express regret and make counterfactual statements. Its biggest restriction is that ba sentences that make requests, commands, suggestions, or advice cannot have active verbs in their subordinate clauses. The last conjugation is the NARA construction. It's sometimes used as naraba. The main takeaway with NARA is that information in the subordinate clause does not come from the speaker, but comes usually from the listener or somebody else. It's like saying, speaking of nantoka nantoka, or if you say nantoka nantoka. This conjugation is also very easy to make. Just take any fully conjugated verb or e-adjective in the affirmative or negative and in the plain form and add nara. For na-adjectives, drop the na and add nara. For pronouns and nouns, you add nara directly. For emphasis, you'll sometimes see no nara with the particle no coming before nara, and it's used for emphasis. The nara conjugation is used in many of the same things that you can use tara or ba for, except that the biggest restriction in the use of nara is that the information in the subordinate clause must come in some form from the listener or somebody else. Nara sentences can express opinions and judgments, volitions, requests, commands, suggestions, and similar sentences, as well as counterfactuals. Let's do a comparison of the four in terms of ease of conjugation. To is the easiest, followed by nara, tara, and in the last place is ba. In terms of flexibility or application in making sentences, tara can be used for almost anything, followed by ba with its restrictions, nara with its more restrictions, and in last place is to, which can only be used for math, natural phenomena, and logic. Here are the main takeaways of each conditional. To is used only for math, logic, natural phenomena, and logical consequences, which can be subjective depending on what the speaker believes. Tara can be used for almost all circumstances. Ba has a lot of overlap with tara, but has more restrictions. The information in the subordinate clause comes from the speaker. In the nara conjugation, the information in the subordinate clause must come from the listener or someone else. It's like saying, if you say that, nantoka nantoka, or speaking of, nantoka nantoka. This is a major restriction of the nara construction. Here are the main restrictions of the four conditionals. To cannot be used to make volitions, invitations, requests, commands, suggestions, or the like. Tara has only one big restriction. When the main verb or V2 is in the past tense, V2 must be an action that is not done on purpose by the speaker. This means V2 can only be a stative verb or a spontaneous verb or an action done by somebody else. For the ba conjugation, the major restriction is that when the main verb is a request, command, or suggestion, the verb in the ba subordinate clause cannot be an active verb. V1 can only be a stative verb or a spontaneous verb, adjective, noun, or pronoun. Also, when V2 is past, V1 can't be a single event in the past. And lastly, for nara, the biggest restriction is that information in the subordinate clause must come from the listener or someone else, and not from the speaker. And we have other minor restrictions, such as we can't use nara if V1 ever fails to happen, or V1 is impossible, or if V2 automatically happens as a result of V1. For details and examples of these restrictions, please see their very own lessons. So which conditionals can be used for expressing opinions? All of them except to. But speakers sometimes use to to express very, very strong opinions when the speaker thinks that V2 or the main clause is inevitable, which can be used to express volitions. Again, all of them except to. For requests, all of them except to. But for the ba construction, there's the additional restriction that V1 or the verb in the ba clause must not be an active action. And for commands, same case, all can be used except to. But for the ba construction, again you have the same restriction. V1 must not be an active action. And for making suggestions or advice, again, same case, all can be used except to. And ba again has the same restriction, that V1 must not be an active action. V1 can be a spontaneous verb, a stative verb, a noun, pronoun, or adjective. And for making counterfactual statements, again, all can be used except to. Can the verb in the main clause be in the past tense? Yes, to all of them, but we have restrictions for all the conditionals except to. For tara, the main verb must not be an action done on purpose by the speaker. Another condition allowing past tense in tara, ba, and nara is that if the sentence were counterfactual. So this ends our summary on the use of the four conditionals, to, tara, ba, and nara. I hope this lesson helped clear things up for you. The conditionals are a big topic in the Japanese language, and there are just so many details to remember about them. Ja, gambatte kudasai. Mata aimashou. If you're serious about becoming fluent in Japanese, it's important to practice daily, learn grammar, and build up vocabulary. My whole course is designed to give you a strong basic foundation in the Japanese language that you can build solidly upon. So please click like, share, or subscribe and watch the next video in the series. Nihongo no benkyou ni gambatte kudasai. Ja, mata ne.